On a day that would prove to be pivotal in his life, a wandering musician found himself meandering through the dusty aisles of a quaint thrift store, a hidden gem filled with forgotten treasures. As he navigated the eclectic assortment of items, each with its own story, waiting to be told, his gaze fell upon an old, dusty piano, languishing in a dimly lit corner, overshadowed by towering stacks of discarded furniture and knickknacks. This instrument, with its withered keys that begged to be touched and its faded finish that spoke of years gone by, intrigued him deeply. Despite its neglected appearance, an magnetic pull drew him toward it, as if the piano held within its wooden frame secrets yearning to be uncovered and melodies longing to be played. Without a moment's hesitation, he made the decision to bring the piano home, captivated by the potential music it might yield, music that could perhaps transcend time itself. Once the piano was carefully set up in his modest living room, the musician felt an irresistible urge to play. He approached the instrument with a sense of reverence, as if it were a long-lost friend waiting to share its stories. As his fingers began to dance over the keys, a haunting melody began to emerge, weaving itself through the air like a delicate thread of sound, intricately interlacing with the very fabric of his being. The notes resonated with a profound beauty that captivated him, echoing deep within his soul and awakening emotions he had long buried beneath the weight of daily life. It was as if the piano were speaking to him, calling forth memories and feelings that had long been dormant, urging him to listen closely. However, as his obsession with mastering this mysterious piece deepened, peculiar and unsettling occurrences began to unfold within the confines of his home. Shadows flickered just out of sight, darting across the walls like fleeting memories that refused to be forgotten. Faint whispers seemed to echo through the empty rooms, filling the silence with an eerie presence that sent chills down his spine. The more he immersed himself in the melody, the more he sensed a connection to a tragic event from a long-forgotten past, as if the music was a bridge between his world and another. Driven by an insatiable curiosity and a desperate need for answers, the musician embarked on a journey to uncover the history of the haunting melody that had ensnared his heart and mind. He dedicated countless hours to researching, piecing together fragments of stories, and sifting through old newspaper clippings that hinted at the piano's past. What he discovered was both beautiful and heartbreaking. The melody was once tied to a poignant love story that had ended in sorrow and heartbreak, a tale of two souls intertwined yet ultimately torn apart by fate. As he unraveled the mystery, he came to realize that the piano was not merely an instrument. It was a vessel, imbued with the lost emotions and forgotten memories of those who had come before him, a keeper of stories waiting to be told. Now, standing at a crossroads in his life, the musician faced a profound choice. He could continue to play the haunting melody, risking the awakening of the past and the ghosts it might bring forth, or he could let go of the enchanting piece that had captured his heart so completely, allowing it to fade into the shadows from whence it came. The weight of his decision pressed heavily upon him as he contemplated the power of music to evoke both joy and pain, to heal and to haunt. In this moment of deep reflection, he understood that the melody was not just a song, it was a poignant reminder of love, loss, and the intricate tapestry of human experience. It encapsulated the essence of what it meant to be alive, to feel deeply, and to navigate the complexities of existence. Whatever path he chose, one thing was certain: the haunting melody would forever resonate within him, echoing the delicate balance between the beauty of creation and the shadows of memory, intertwining his fate with that of the souls who had come before him, forever altering the course of his life.
In the quaint and somewhat eerie town of Eldridge Hollow, the mere mention of the old Whitaker house was enough to send shivers cascading down the spines of its residents, igniting tales of fear and intrigue that had been passed down through generations. This long-abandoned mansion, shrouded in mystery and overgrown with vines, was rumored to be cursed, a dark remnant of a time long gone. Legends spoke of a woman named Eliza, whose tragic disappearance on a tempestuous night had woven her spirit into the very fabric of the house, forever tethering her to its decaying walls. As Halloween approached, the atmosphere in Eldridge Hollow grew thick with anticipation and an electrifying sense of dread. The air was crisp, leaves swirling in the wind like whispers of the past. It was on one such fateful Halloween night that a group of intrepid teenagers, fueled by youthful bravado and a thirst for adventure, made the audacious decision to explore the forsaken Whitaker house, armed with little more than their trusty flashlights and an overwhelming sense of invincibility. They stepped forward into the unknown, their hearts racing with a mix of excitement and trepidation. As they cautiously creaked open the heavy, splintered door, a sudden gust of icy wind rushed out to greet them, extinguishing their lights in an instant and plunging them into an oppressive darkness that felt alive. Panic began to seep in, but curiosity propelled them deeper into the shadowy depths of the mansion. The air was thick with dust and the scent of mildew, as if the house itself had been waiting patiently for their arrival, holding its breath in anticipation. Then, slicing through the silence, a soft, mournful cry echoed through the desolate halls, wrapping around them like a shroud. Intrigued yet gripped by an unsettling fear, the teenagers exchanged nervous glances before deciding to follow the haunting sound. It led them through a labyrinth of decaying rooms, each one filled with remnants of a long-lost era, until they finally arrived at the parlor, a place that seemed frozen in time. In the center of the room stood a dusty, ornate mirror, its surface tarnished and cracked. As they approached, the air grew colder still, and they felt an inexplicable pull towards the reflective glass. When they peered into the mirror, their hearts dropped. A ghostly figure materialized before them, Eliza herself. Her translucent form hovered just beyond the glass, her eyes glistening with sorrow and a depth of longing that pierced through the veil of time. With a delicate, almost ethereal gesture, she beckoned them closer, her voice a mere whisper that carried the weight of unspoken secrets. As she began to share the tragic details of her fate, the teenagers realized that they were no longer mere observers in this haunting tale. They had unwittingly become part of a dark and intricate ritual that held the power to either liberate Eliza's tormented spirit or condemn them all to a fate worse than death. The stakes had never been higher, and the choices they were about to make would echo through the ages, intertwining their destinies with that of the restless ghost forevermore.
Title: Midnight Whispers. Every night, as the clock strikes the ominous hour of midnight, the world outside her window succumbs to a profound and all-encompassing hush. In this quietude, a woman finds herself ensnared by the relentless, incessant ringing of her phone. The source of these disturbing calls is a number shrouded in mystery, cloaked in an unsettling aura that sends tendrils of dread creeping into her mind. At first, the calls come as chillingly silent interruptions. The rhythmic vibration of her phone against the polished wooden surface of her nightstand sends a shiver racing down her spine, igniting a primal sense of anxiety. Each time she dares to pick up the receiver, she is met with an eerie, suffocating quiet that leaves her feeling exposed and vulnerable, as if the very darkness surrounding her is watching her every move, waiting with bated breath for her to falter. However, as the nights stretch into an unending cycle of dread, the oppressive silence is abruptly shattered by the emergence of a voice that begins to whisper her deepest fears with a chilling intimacy that feels all too familiar, as if it has been woven into the very fabric of her existence. This voice, haunting and ethereal, seems to weave itself through the recesses of her mind, drawing forth anxiety she had long buried beneath the weight of her chaotic everyday life. It speaks in soft, seductive tones, yet each word resonates with a profound intensity, echoing the shadows of her past that she had believed were securely locked away, never to resurface again. With each passing night, the whispers grow increasingly intense and undeniably personal, as if this voice possesses an unsettling knowledge of her innermost thoughts and secrets. It reveals hidden truths that she had meticulously tucked away in the dark corners of her memory, delving into her childhood and unearthing a traumatic event she had convinced herself was long forgotten, an agonizing memory that had left scars she thought had healed over time, only to be revealed anew. The more she listens, the clearer it becomes that these calls are not mere coincidences. They are intricately connected to a dark chapter of her past that she had tried desperately to escape, a chapter that refuses to remain closed, no matter how fervently she wishes it to be so. As the whispers continue to haunt her, a growing sense of desperation takes hold, propelling her forward with an urgency that feels almost primal, driven by an insatiable need to trace the origins of the mysterious phone number. She embarks on a quest for truth, only to discover that it is unlisted and unreachable, a ghostly presence that eludes her grasp just when she feels she is closing in. The calls persist, each one more chilling than the last, as the voice taunts her mercilessly, reminding her that she cannot outrun her fears or the shadows that loom ominously over her life like dark clouds threatening a storm. It feels as though the very essence of her insecurities has taken form, stalking her through the long, dark nights that stretch endlessly before her. One fateful night, fueled by a volatile mix of fear and determination, she makes a resolute decision to confront the voice that has so insidiously invaded her life. With her heart pounding fiercely in her chest, she answers the call, her pulse racing with a blend of trepidation and fierce resolve. "Who are you?" she demands, her voice trembling yet imbued with a newfound strength that surprises even her. The response she receives is a chilling laugh that reverberates through the line, a sound that seems to mock her very existence and shatter the fragile semblance of control she has managed to maintain. "I am what you fear most," it replies, each word dripping with a sinister familiarity that sends another shiver cascading down her spine, igniting the embers of her deepest dread. In that moment of chilling revelation, she realizes that to reclaim her life from the clutches of this tormentor, she must confront the very demons she has been avoiding for far too long. Gathering her courage with a fierce determination, she embarks on the arduous journey of facing the memories she has long suppressed. Each step she takes toward confronting her past is fraught with difficulty, yet it is also liberating in a way she had not anticipated, as she embraces the painful truths and allows herself to feel the weight of her experiences. The calls begin to fade into the background, but the voice remains a lingering presence in her mind, a constant reminder of the battles she is valiantly fighting within herself. Ultimately, she arrives at a profound understanding: the true horror lies not in the calls themselves, but in the unresolved trauma that has held her captive for so long, shackled by chains of her own making. By bravely facing her fears and the remnants of her past, she discovers a wellspring of inner strength she did not know she possessed, a resilience that surges forth like a tide reclaiming the shore. The whispers that once haunted her nights begin to dissipate, transforming from chilling echoes into a powerful catalyst for her healing, guiding her toward a brighter future. In the end, the phone calls cease, but the journey of healing has only just begun. She learns that confronting her past is not merely an act of bravery, it is the key to breaking free from the suffocating grip of her fears and insecurities. With each passing day, she continues to reclaim her life, silencing the whispers that once haunted her nights, and embracing the promise of a future unbound by the shadows of her past. As she steps into the light of a new dawn, she recognizes that the true power lies within her, and she is finally ready to forge ahead, unafraid and resolute, ready to embrace the world with open arms and a heart unburdened by the chains of her history.
The sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple as the group of friends Emily, Jake, Sarah, and Tom set up their campsite deep within the dense woods of Black Hollow. The air was crisp and filled with the earthy scent of pine and damp soil. Laughter echoed as they pitched tents and gathered firewood, blissfully unaware of the darkness that lurked beyond the tree line. As night fell, they huddled around the crackling campfire, the flames casting flickering shadows that danced around them. Emily pulled out an old, tattered book she had found in her grandmother's attic, filled with local legends and ghost stories. With a mischievous grin, she began to read aloud, her voice low and eerie. Legend has it that the woods are haunted by a vengeful spirit, known as the Guardian of the Forest. It is said that the spirit protects the land from those who would harm it, punishing anyone who dares to tread with ill intentions. The group fell silent, their eyes glancing at the dark expanse of trees surrounding them. Tom scoffed, attempting to lighten the mood. "Come on, Emma, it's just a story. Ghosts aren't real." But Sarah, with her wide eyes reflecting the firelight, leaned in closer. "What if it is real? What if we've disturbed something? The forest is alive. You know. Jake rolled his eyes, but couldn't shake the uneasy feeling that crept into his gut. They continued their evening, sharing ghost stories and laughing. But as the night deepened, an unsettling chill settled over the campsite. Hours passed, and the fire dwindled to glowing embers. As the friends retreated to their tents, the woods seemed to come alive with whispers, a rustling that felt too deliberate, too close. Emily fell asleep, but her dreams were haunted by visions of a tall, shadowy figure lurking just beyond the trees. Watching, suddenly, a loud crash shattered the stillness. Emily jolted awake, heart racing. She unzipped her tent and peered out into the inky blackness. The air was thick with tension, and the shadows seemed to stretch unnaturally. "Tom," she called softly, but there was no response. Panicking, she unzipped the tents of her friends one by one. Each tent was empty. "Guys, where are you?" A low growl echoed through the woods, sending shivers down her spine. She stumbled back, heart pounding in her chest, and that's when she saw a dark silhouette standing between the trees, just beyond the reach of the firelight. It was too still, too silent, and it felt as if it were watching her, with terror gripping her. Emily turned and ran, her breath coming in sharp gasps. She burst into the clearing where the fire had once flickered, but the embers were cold and lifeless. She called out for her friends, her voice cracking with fear. Jake, Sarah, Tom. Rushing deeper into the woods, she stumbled through the underbrush, branches clawing at her skin, but the shadow followed, its presence a suffocating weight in the night. She could feel it drawing closer, a chill creeping into her bones. Finally, she spotted a familiar outlined figure crouched beside a tree. Jake, she gasped, rushing to him, but as she reached him, she realized he was not moving. His eyes were wide, staring into the darkness, unseeing. "Emily," he whispered, voice trembling, "it's here." Before she could ask what he meant, the shadow manifested fully, a tall, gaunt figure with elongated limbs and hollow eyes that seemed to absorb the light. He radiated an aura of rage and sorrow, and a deep, resonant voice echoed through the trees. "You disturbed my domain." Emily and Jake backed away, fear coursing through them. "What do you want?" Jake yelled, his voice cracking. "You carry guilt." The figure hissed, his voice like rustling leaves. "You disrespect the forest, and I will not allow it." Suddenly, memories flooded back to Emily, memories of their past, of careless nights spent drinking and laughing, of a time they had come here before and had left a fire unattended, leading to a small blaze that had marred a section of the forest. They had thought it was nothing, a funny story to tell, but now it felt like a weight pressing down on her chest. The guardian of the forest was not just a legend, it was a reckoning. "We didn't mean to hurt anyone," she cried, tears welling in her eyes. "We were young and foolish." The figure stepped closer, and that air grew colder. "Foolishness leads to destruction. You have taken from this land. Now you must face the consequences." In that moment, Sarah emerged from the shadows, her face pale and terrified. "I saw it too," she whispered. "I saw it watching us. It knows what we did." The figure regarded them with an intensity that made their skin crawl. "To survive, you must confront your guilt, speak your truth, or be lost to the darkness forever." In that moment, the friends realized they could not escape their past. They gathered together, trembling, and began to speak, sharing their fears, their regrets, the weight of their actions that had always loomed over them. They spoke of the fire, of the animals they had disturbed, of the laughter that had turned to shame. As they confessed, the air began to shift. The figure's expression softened, and the tension in the air lightened. "Only when you acknowledge your wrongs can you find peace," it murmured, and with that, the darkness around them began to recede. The guardian of the forest, once a figure of vengeance, transformed into something more ethereal, a protector rather than a punisher. "You may leave, but remember this lesson. Respect the land, and it will protect you." With that, the figure faded into the shadows, leaving the friends shaken but alive. They stood in silence for a moment. The weight of their guilt lifted, yet the memory of their encounter would haunt them forever. As dawn broke, they emerged from the woods, the sunlight bathing them in warmth, a stark contrast to the cold terror of the night. They vowed to honor the forest, to protect it, and to never forget the guardian who had made them confront their past. And though they left Black Hollow behind, they knew they would carry its legend with them, a reminder of the darkness that lurked not just in the woods, but within themselves. Write me a long story in a scary tone about a camping trip takes a sinister turn when a group of friends encounters a shadowy figure stalking them in the woods. As they try to escape, they discover that the figure is tied to an ancient legend of a vengeful spirit protecting the forest, and they must confront their own guilt to survive.